I never fell in love with you. And say thank you.
My name is Nicole. I go by Agneta as my stage name. I like to consider myself a multifaceted creative. So I do spoken word, I do written poetry, I'm a model, I do a little bit of interior design on the side. Yeah, other than that, I studied psychology in school, and I feel like that's also really aided in my creativity. Because it's also raised my self-awareness as well. Other things that I have done, well, a lot of it is highly integrated. I like to mix my art, so if I'm doing my poetry pieces, sometimes I like to turn that into a whole creative project, so it will be a video-based concept, and yeah, so I just like to play around with the different facets in my creativity. But if you want to check out the projects, well, my story is very cliche. I started writing in primary school, and it was basically because I was reading a lot of novels, and then I fancied myself an author, so I tried writing a book. But I realized it had a lot of rhyme in it, so I looked that up, discovered poetry, and then I just kept writing like that. And then once I got to high school, my pastor, TC, very, very good pastor, encouraged me to do some of my pieces during this is how you know I haven't gone to church for a while. I was supposed to call them during the church sessions, but during one of the services. So that's how I got into performance poetry, because before it was very based on written poetry. And then after that, I just kept finding opportunities to perform my pieces for people. Started looking pieces up online, discovered there's a lovely lady called Genetics, and I fell in love with one of her pieces. It's titled I Will Wait For You, and I think that's the moment when I decided that I wanted to keep doing performance poetry. I think, to be honest, because at the time it fit very well, because the pieces that I was writing were also very faith-based. At the time, faith was a really huge thing for me. Yeah. And I was going through a lot of things with regards to that, so the pieces correlated and it worked. So I didn't have I don't think I ever had an experience where I performed one of my pieces at service and then a member of the congregation or one of the church leaders came to talk to me afterwards about or to offer prayers. Yeah. So yeah, I always write from a very honest perspective, and I don't like to write about things that I have no experience in, because I feel like that's very it's based on deceit. So unless you're either drawing from someone else's experience or you're drawing from your own, I think it comes out in your poetry. So because I was writing on things that I was experiencing, I think that's why it connected and why I was allowed to perform it. So it worked. It was based on a lot of self-exploration. I guess a good quality is that I am open to trying new things. Of course, I'm cautious, and there may be a bit of fear involved in trying new things. But because I have a lot of interest in a lot of different things, it allows me to tap into spaces that I wasn't even aware I may be interested in myself. So I think because of that, and also being able to meet new people, make new connections, the cycle just keeps going, the ball keeps rolling. But yes, I do meet a lot of really amazing, interesting people in different fields that I tap into, and they come with opportunities as well, for shows especially. I think that's the main thing, for shows. I think it's really hard for poets to get, because you know, as a musician you could go to a club and then you make a deal and you perform for them every weekend. But I think I've been very lucky because most of the shows that I have performed at were shows that I was either called for or I saw and then I was like, oh, let me just randomly send them one of my pieces, see if they get back to me. So that's how I got most of my shows. And a lot of it is also just making connections at some of the shows, because someone will come to your event, see you perform, and then ask for your number, reach out to you at another time. So for me personally, that's what's worked. But I know it's really difficult for people to get consistent gigs. To be honest, it's gonna come off very narcissistic, but I have to say one myself, because if I didn't believe in what I was doing, there will be no one to tap into that and be like, Nicole, I think you should consider doing this and this and this and this. But secondly, 100% my mother, because it was at a time when I'd be called, let's say if I'm called for a show, but I have no means of transportation to get there to begin with. I don't know. There were some shows that I would go to and I'm not even sure if I'm being paid. And it's a night show. So my mother was really supportive in one, giving me the space to try at the very least. And then, yeah, also a lot of financial support, because she paid for almost all the Uber rides to and from shows. Yeah. Always, definitely. I've been told about houses, so I know buying a house is in my future plans. I think maybe it's a mix of all three. I would like to believe, because you could be talented, but if you're not passionate or invested in it, then it's not really going anywhere. So I think what helps with me at least is that first and foremost I write for me. When I started writing, it was a source of self-expression. I wasn't writing to get gigs, I wasn't writing so that I could get published, I wasn't writing so that anything specific would happen. I was writing because I felt. So I think basing it off of that, and then now tapping into the fact that there's a whole industry behind it. I guess there are elements where you have to, it has to be more than just about being talented. So I'd like to say that I have all three.
They asked me once to write, we had to title ourselves so highly. Queens and kings, what makes us so supreme? Well, a queen doesn't demand blind loyalty, she earns what she keeps. So I took a mirror, and before it I stood and I asked, Do you not see how the light shines on me? Do you not see the curve of my lips and the tilt of my hips? The rebellion of my hair and the way the ground yearns for the soles of my feet? How the clouds part and the sea waves back at me? How the moon aims its beam so proudly? Do you not see it, feel it, or hear it? The trumpets before my arrival, how birds chirp every morning and marvel. Do you not see that I am more than just a melanin hashtag begging for a double tap? The excitement of a Black Panther when I never will have claimed Wakanda until it became cool to have a black cast. A queen doesn't need a throne as long as she has a heart of gold. And a queen doesn't demand for people to be on bended knee. She inspires them to rise up on their own 2 feet, like how I hope you'll be at the end of this piece. So tell me, do you see a crown on my head? Priceless jewelry around my neck and servants at my desk? Or is it just a bounce in my step? A smile that implies that I've already won the contest because I have. It's no arrogance, it's confidence. Is it still narcissism when it's obvious? Don't answer that. But do you not see that it's more than just about me, it's about this colony, how infectious this needs to be to recognize that we are all supreme and not be intimidated by what we see. Because you could be beautiful, but darling, I could be beautiful too, and you could be smart, and together, we could change the world anew. But I've been taught to fight you, queen. I've been taught not to trust you. I've been taught that you could take what I have bled for, so when I stand before you, it's in the hopes of watching you fall. Queens, we have a surplus of them. So we've decided to categorize and term them further. Locally, we have the slay queens, just don't be queer, Rafiki. You can love another queen as long as it's for the pleasure of the king. You're a queen as long as you have that haven between your thighs, a learned gleam in your eyes, as long as you sit right, your hair nice, don't be wild. Are you educated? Do you have a desk job? Are you married? No, actually, you're stronger if you don't want him. No, actually, you single ones are the troublemakers, the homewreckers, sit quietly. Actually, if you want to get married, you're just conforming to patriarchal rules and taking us back by centuries. So tell me, what exactly do you want from me? Don't act so indiscriminately to what society has been teaching you. We're a civilized society. That haven we're talking about, it's been colonized. Act like it. But then again, don't. We're future forward, aren't we? It's funny, isn't it? How we teach young girls to love themselves. How we tell them to simply be themselves, but then build them a box and tell them, be yourselves in here. They tell you, you're a real-life Wonder Woman. Then marvel at you when you follow through and act whimsical. Put on a tight suit and go out and do the things that you want to do. Gawk at you when you don't want the suit and you want to paint or sing or write poetry. Perform it before them, bare your soul to them, then they snap their fingers, smile at you, and later on ask, so what is it that you really do? Who are you? No, who do they allow you to be? See, it's easy to play the victim when you create the crime scene, the society for you. I have accepted that I like the color pink, but yellow is still my golden halo. I have accepted that skirts and dresses make me feel sexy and feminine, but I love a pantsuit that shows I've got power, that draws your eyes to my thighs on every angle and every mile and every inch of this body that you love to hate. You will respect me if I say I love it and hate it when I don't show it to you. Then again, turn and call me a slut if I love you like you do. Wonder why I'm so shy when I hide it from you, call me a prude. I love romantic movies and novels about lost loves and reunions. Have you been eating more this week? Your tummy feels bigger to me. Hizo jeans jameni, unaona ni kama zinakufitu kweli? You're going for a second plate. That doesn't sound like a mistake. I wish you were thicker. Then we could play. You should diet more. Try get smaller. You're too tall. Take off those heels so I can maintain my ego and compensate for a few things that people don't know of. All this nonsense from a lad with no way forward. Still calling women girls and stumbling through life. Can't respect his mother but wants himself a wife? Nonsense. Before I can fit into your Barbie doll standards, why don't you diet your soul? Garbage in, garbage out. That's how it goes. Entrenched in a patriarchal society, so you think all women are yours for show? Convinced that you're above all when you can even rise to the occasion once called. Your microscopic mind is the reason we remain a backward species. living life thinking you're a blessing when all you offer is uncertainty as to whether there's really hope for humanity. I know good men. Men who know how to respect women. Not out of fear of feminism, but because first they recognize that we are human beings.
Most of my shows tend to happen evenings, so the show will probably start at 6, and I'm estimating it's ending around 9 or 10, depending on Kenyan timing. So if I'm free the whole day, I will rehearse as much as possible. I have a really strong fear of forgetting my lines on stage, so I'm always very conscious of trying to make sure that I can memorize my lines but also be able to emote them when I'm performing. So it's a lot of practicing and a lot of rehearsal, and then because I like adding the aesthetics to the performance, I'll try find a way to incorporate however I look to whatever theme the show has, or whatever theme my pieces specifically have. Yeah. So it's never too complex. It's just about trying to like calm myself so that I'm not too nervous, but I always am. So I don't think I have I don't think I have a fashion influence, to be honest. Anything baggy or anything that has some form of like African aesthetic to it, I vibe with. I think that's the only cautious decision I make when I'm picking out clothes. Like, is it comfortable? And yeah. Well, there's some pieces that I tend to perform quite a lot, either on request or simply because it's a piece I enjoy performing and I enjoy getting a response and a reaction from the crowd. So there's some where I've done it so many times that it's in my head, and then there's some where I know 100% if I go there faith-based that I'll remember my lines, I'll forget. But there are some shows where they tell you can't shoot it. So for shows like that, I try to make sure that I have the lines. So if I mess up and it's a new piece, then I'm lucky because no one knows that I've messed up. It's my piece. So I just blur my verses together or come up with like something to say in between to cover that up. To be honest, I don't think I've had like at least with regards to poetry, I haven't had like a terrible experience that, okay, now I say that and I remember the one, but I think it was just more so about disorganization and the focus not being on the talent that the show was created for. I think that's the only experience I remember feeling like I don't think there's a recognition of the value of the artist. Yeah, there's no appreciation for the work that they're doing, and it's ironic because the show was specifically just about the artist. So I think I would say that was my worst, simply because I felt like art wasn't being celebrated in a forum that was meant to celebrate art. My best experience, I don't think I can pinpoint one exactly, but I think any show where I have a very like an open audience, so like an audience that's actually invested in the performance, that's always a really fun experience. Yeah, when they're interactive. So I think that's happened in a few shows. So I can't pinpoint exactly one, but that's always my favorite moment performing. I'll start with a shameless plug. I did my own show called Acoustics and Poetry. I wasn't technically performing. I think I did one piece as an introductory piece, but I wanted to do a show where the focus was completely based was supposed to be a very what's the word? Intimate show. So I was expecting we would have like maybe a maximum of like 30 audience members, and then just have it to be very interactive and completely focused on the artists themselves. But we ended up having, I think, 60 people show up. I couldn't find seats, but there's a person in my life who likes saying, well, that sounds like a good problem. So it was a good problem to have that so many people are interested in that. So that's one. One that I was excited about was Sofa Sounds, simply because I'd followed their page for a while and I kept trying to get to one of their shows, because you have to be invited, you have to be selected to attend. So it was really exciting for me to be present as a performer. So that was an interesting experience. There's so many other ones that I know I'm forgetting that I'll feel really bad about after. But I'll just mention there was Rise in Love, that was by Socrates, who's an amazing spoken word artist as well. I did a few shows with Ink Overflow, which is also a really good platform for creatives. I'll feel bad about the rest later, but there are a lot. African Dusk. African Dusk, yeah.
Have you mentioned it?
No, I haven't. It was one of my earlier shows. I think around 2018. It was probably in 2018. Yeah. That was also a really fun show to do. No, I think it was just one of those things where some of their members were familiar with my work and my pieces, so it worked out. It was also a really good show. It had a really fun crowd, so I did forget my lines at that show. That I remember. I definitely forgot my lines, but the crowd was really good, very forgiving, and really interactive. So it was a good show. Forgetting your lines, completely forgetting your lines, or not being able to connect with your audience. Because if I'm performing a piece and I myself am not into it, I'm not expecting the crowd to be into it either. So I think the disconnect and forgetting your lines would probably be the worst things to happen, at least for me as a performance artist. I don't think I've experienced either extremes. I always find a decent balance. I guess if you have an overly excited audience, the main problem would be you don't get to finish your piece because people are too busy reacting to whatever it is you're saying to listen to anything else. But when it comes to a written piece, I think that can be, depending on your perspective, it can either be a nice challenge where you now find a way, like on the spot you have to be creative and find a way to draw them out of that rigidness, or you just perform your piece and be like, it is what it is, because sometimes it happens. Sometimes you can't fully connect to the audience that's there. It happens. Yeah, because most of the times when they're reacting to something, they're reacting at the peak of it, but there's like an after statement that you have to make that is related to what you've just said. So you need to complete the whole sentence first before you want your big reaction. So I guess it's a build up towards something. So if you don't get the opportunity to finish the whole piece, then it doesn't have the full impact that you want. But it's always fun to see people connect with a piece or with a performance. I have. It would be great, especially financially and also with regards to impact, because if you have a lot of social issue based pieces and you get to perform that in front of an audience that are the decision makers with regards to what you're saying, then that's a great opportunity to speak on behalf of people. So I embrace that since workshop. So there have been opportunities. It's challenging in the fact that you realize that because for general shows, you don't really know who your audience is. You don't know who you're talking to. But for, let's say, corporate shows, you know exactly who the attendees are. You know what they do. You know what their, you know what their titles are. You know what that means. So it comes with a bit more pressure, but it's also a really, really good opportunity. Yeah. I think every show comes with its challenge, but I mean that in a positive way. A challenge that sort of either forces you to find new ways to perform or forces you to be more creative with your writing, forces you to sharpen your skills. But for a life-changing event, I have an idea of what that looks like. I just haven't experienced it yet, but it will happen. It will happen. To be honest, my personal experience is no. What I've been able to do thus far with poetry has been really amazing, but I definitely can't pay rent with poetry at the moment. But there are a few people who I recognize have found really creative and innovative ways to tap into different industries and found a way to sustain themselves through it. But I don't think I know anyone personally who is doing poetry alone and sustaining themselves that way. I see people going into writing books. I've seen people tapping into writing for commercials or writing slogans, teaching. So there's different elements to tap into within it. But I don't think as a performer, at least locally, it's a highly sustainable way to
You've not gotten to
work.
that point.
Yeah, I'll speak for myself. I personally have not gotten there yet, but I remain hopeful that that can be a possibility
Someday.
for a lot more people. Yeah. Like everything, it has its pros and cons. It does bring opportunity because at least now there's a lot more youth-focused projects, youth-focused organizations. So that creates opportunities and opens doors. For the cons, it's just that you may not be taken seriously. You're looked at as if you're pursuing a hobby. And they don't really see the value or impact of what you do. So I guess it's more so about finding a balance and finding your niche. I guess that would be the hack for at least more performers. And then just knowing your audience. I mean, if you can be flexible in that way, I think it can also be an added advantage just with regards to finding new opportunities. First things first, for the people who actually support my work, who are invested in the things that I do, or at least look forward to any upcoming projects that I have, thank you so much. It actually does mean a lot more than what I can fully express. Second, if there's something that you are passionate about, something that you feel you are skilled in, you never know until you try. It's a scary step to take, but it's also necessary, and it's also, it can be such a fun experience as well. So if you can't take a chance on yourself, how do you expect other people to take a chance on you? So what I would say is simply try, explore, and most importantly, have fun in the things that you invest your time, your spirit, your energy, your skills into. Yeah. And for any corporates that are out there, I am a multifaceted creative. I look forward to making greater impact in a very creative way. So details will be available in the link below.
So Nicole, thank you for gracing us with your presence as always.
Thank you for having me.
It's always an honor. You have no idea how many candles you've lit out there. And leave a comment below if you've enjoyed the show. If you have anything to tell Agneta, she's probably going to go through the comment herself. You better.
I will.
And she will reply to the personal comments. So msiogope. Hata wachapa mimi ndio nilikuwa nyinyi. Yeah, how can people find you directly? Social media, Google Map.
Please don't find me on Google Maps.
So yeah, where can you be found?
Well, most of my content I share on Instagram, where you can find me as Nicole_Agneta_A. It's not as complex as it sounds.
A lot of underscores.
Just two. I think maybe three. Maybe three. I share some of my pieces on SoundCloud as well. You can find me there as Nicole Agneta. Basically, if you go and search Nicole Agneta, my face should show up on either SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook, but I don't share a lot of content there.
Why?
I honestly lost touch with Facebook. I was really big on Facebook when I was younger.
I told you we're very wise people. I told you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the big ones. And YouTube as Nicole Agneta.
Twitter?
Boy, Twitter and I, we have a bit of a complex relationship. So I'm there, but I'm not as active. The most active platform I'm on the platform I'm most active on is Instagram.
To the corporates, how can they reach you? Email or something?
My email address is colenakinyi@gmail.com.
For business inquiries, you will not be getting the phone number today, unfortunately. But keep
unless
praying and fasting. Also for M-Pesa, the zeros have to be enough, or else keep your number and your money. Anyway, all in all, once again, thank you so much, Nicole, for showing up. I hope you enjoyed the show yourself.
I did, and I look forward to more conversations like this.
5 years from now, we'll have the same conversation. You might spot some difference, gray hair here and there.
No, you have to call my people to schedule an appointment.
Yeah. Whatever she's saying might be partially true. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that will be it for now. Over and out. Taonyesha nini? Is it peace out? Is it chill? Is it dub?
Oh, now I feel so old. I can't. Okay.
Yeah, we are very wise. We would have clapped, but our hands are held up.